All right, coming up, we're going to take a look at some of the top free agents remaining as we are into week 2 of NFL free agency. But our new Packers channel, Boo, has challenged us to a sub battle for this week. So we're going to keep tabs on this throughout the week. I don't want to just beat the Packers Report and new subscribers. I want to embarrass them. I want to just firing line straight to the Packers Report and decapitate those fools over there. Let's take them down. FGB day, all day, every day here on Chicago Bears Now. If you want free and daily content, subscribe. It's free, and let's take those frauds down. All right, are the Bears going to make some more signings in NFL free agency? I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. I've got 50 free agents still available to sign, a bunch of positions to go through, 5 players at 10 different positions. Now, we're filming this Monday night. We're going to publish it Tuesday morning. That's the plan. Is it possible 1 or 2 of these guys sign in the next 12 hours? Yes, but the video is going to hold because most of these guys are still going to be available. So keep that in mind. We'll start with edge rushers, and we're going to kind of go rapid fire throughout this segment. Von Miller, I still think he's got some juice left. Is he a true 4-3 Dennis Allen prototype? No, but if you can get him for cheap and if he can come off the edge and be a rotational guy on clear pass downs, I still am interested. Za'Darius Smith, he's played everywhere else in the NFC North. He had 9 sacks last year. 10 sacks a couple of years ago. He's still productive. I think he's big enough to play in this scheme, plays with good power. If the price is right, I'm in. Charles Omenihu, this is more of a DA prototype. 6'5" or so, 280. He's got long arms. 2 seasons ago, he was really productive with the Chiefs. Then he tore his ACL. Took him a while to get back last year. Full healthy offseason coming ahead. I think you could get him on like a bargain 1-year deal to try and rebuild his stock in this league. And you might kind of find lightning in a bottle here because when he's fully right, he can give you 6 or 8 sacks. Matt Judon, obviously the Bears were interested last year. They made an offer to trade for him from the Patriots. Good thing they didn't get him because A, he wasn't very good last year, and B, the Bears weren't very good last year, so that probably would have been a waste of a pick. But bargain free agent for cheap, you could do worse. Preston Smith has spent a lot of time in the NFC North with the Packers, finished last year with the Steelers. Still a good rotation pass rusher. Not much more than that. I'm a little lower on him than these other guys. Okay, defensive tackles. It's not a great group. There's not many good ones left. I think a Dangbo being versatile and playing inside is going to help. But you could find like a this year's version of Byron Coward or something like that. He signed with the Jets, by the way, for those wondering. Raekwon Davis, he's had a decent career. Wasn't very good last year. Could you find lightning in a bottle? Maybe. Austin Johnson with the Bills, been around 10 years, been a rotation piece. Again, I don't think he's lighting the world on fire. Linval Joseph, out of all these guys, has had the best career. He's 36, but could he be Andrew Billings' backup, just be a bowling ball in the run game, give you 15, 20 snaps a game? Could certainly do worse. Mike Pennell, similar type of player, big physical run stopper, 32 or so in terms of age, rotation piece. Ryan Poles has been familiar with him. He's played with the Bears before a few years ago. He's been with the Chiefs in a couple of stints, so he could be a guy to look at. John Jenkins with the Raiders, he actually played pretty well last year. Decent interior pass rusher, so he could be another name to monitor as well. Okay, let's talk safeties. I think this is a position you need to add, whether it's in free agency or in the draft. Julian Blackmon, I think he's more of a starter, so to me, if you sign him, does that mean you're cutting Byard or you're moving on for Brisker? I'm not sure, but that would certainly be noteworthy. Jordan Fuller with Carolina, he's been around a little bit. He could also start, certainly. Could he be your third guy that you're ready to go if someone gets hurt? Would he take that role? Is he holding out for a true starting role? We'll see. Marcus Williams, this is an interesting one because he played with the Saints for a while, so you got the Dennis Allen connection. He was horrible with the Ravens last year. But that could be a good thing in the sense of he'll know the system with Dennis Allen, and he's probably not going to cost anything. Like, you could probably get him for $2 million. So, and he could be like a clear third guy. Like, hey, I'm a backup, but if someone goes down, I can play either safety spot, and I've got experience in this defense. Like, he might actually kind of be the ideal guy that you bring into the room. Chuck Clark, a lot of experience, played in some different defenses. I think as a third guy makes a lot of sense. that you could bring in. Rayshon Jenkins with the Seahawks. He's definitely closer to the end than the beginning, but he's been around for a while. Wasn't very good last year, but producer calling in my ear saying he sucks. Needed a fifth name because Juan Thornhill got signed. I'm going to be honest. How should the Bears address safety? F for free agency, D for the draft. I'm kind of indifferent. If you want a higher level player, I'd probably look in the draft. If you want kind of that clear third guy, you could probably get a cheap free agent. Obviously, you've got Elijah Hicks. You got Jonathan Owens. To me, one of those guys is still on the team. You cut the other one is probably what I would do there. I would try to upgrade at that third spot. But what say you, F for free agency or D for draft? Okay, offensive tackles, specifically guys, swing tackles, insurance for Braxton Jones. Joe Noteboom, he got a big contract from the Rams a few years ago. Over time, Alaric Jackson emerged and beat him out. He's a free agent now. He has experience at left tackle. I think he could fit the bill of being that swing plus insurance for Braxton Jones. Jedrick Wills, former first-round pick. We've talked about him a couple of times. I don't know what his price tag would be, but if he doesn't have a clear starting opportunity, I would take a flyer here. He was a first-round pick. Maybe with better offensive line coaching with Dan Rochar, he could turn into something. Andres P., long time with Rochar and the Saints, was with the Raiders last year. Clear swing tackle option at this point. You don't want him starting. He's well into his 30s, but would know the scheme. As a vet, you don't last this long without being a good team guy as well, so certainly wouldn't mind that. George Fant, same deal, swing tackle. He's been around the NFL for a long time, can play both tackle spots. If you need him to play, he can. Ideally, he's a swing tackle. DJ Humphries, a few years ago, was a really good left tackle, had a serious injury. Chiefs tried to sign him midseason last year once he got healthy. I don't think he was quite right. If he got fully right again, I still think he could be a starting left tackle in the NFL. But even if he's not that, I think as a swing tackle or depth for Braxton Jones, I think he could be a decent option at the right price tag. Okay, more positions to go through, but first, we've got our friends over at PrizePicks to talk about. The action on the court is red hot as the bracket is here, and you should get in on all of the action with our friends over at PrizePicks. Play your game today, set lineups of 2 or more players, and pick more or less on the stat projections they provide. Points, rebounds, assists, combo stats. They're going to give you a number, and you take more or less on that number. It's a very simple concept. They've kind of taken the thinking out of it, right? They want to simplify it for you, make it a speedy process. That way you can fire off your lineups. You can set multiple lineups per day as long as you have money in your account. Obviously, the goal is to win money. That way you can play even more. And if you're a new customer, sign up today at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Once you play for $5, they're going to give you an additional $50 into your lineup for free. Doesn't matter if you win or lose that $5 lineup. You're going to get that extra $50. Here's a 3-player lineup. To win up to 5x your entry. So if it's a $10 entry, you could win $50. Took the more across the board, including that freebie with John Broom. Take advantage. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS if you're a first-time customer. Play for $5, you get 50 for free. Take advantage today. Links in the comments and in the description. Get going with PrizePicks right now. Okay, interior offensive lineman Matt Pryor. He could obviously swing out, play some tackle as well. You guys know how I feel about him. I think as a backup, he's excellent. I think as a starter, he proved last year he could be serviceable. You guys, real quick, just let me know. You want to re-sign Matt Pryor? I do. Again, maybe the price tag's too much. Maybe he gets up to like $6 million, and the Bears are like, we like you, but not at that price tag. I don't know how Ben Johnson feels about him. Scheme change, all that stuff. I'd like to bring him back, but we'll see what happens there. Okay, Dalton Reiser. I've always liked him. Similar to Pryor last year, but for a longer stretch. Serviceable starter, good backup. He tends to be one of these guys that signs like right before training camp, so he could be out there for a while if you have an injury at guard or if you just want some depth there. He's a plug-and-play guy that can play at a serviceable level. Shaq Mason did not have a very good year last year with the Texans, but he's been around for a while. He's been a starter in this league at guard. Again, he could be like your swing interior guy. That's an option. Will Hernandez, I think he's probably a starter somewhere. He's been a starter for a few years with Arizona, so I think he'll hold out for that opportunity. But, again, sometimes these jobs fill up, and you got to settle for what's available. So if he's willing to take on a backup role for the right price, I'd be interested. And then I threw a center in there, Andre James. I think he's good enough to start. I'll just verbally mention Garrett Bradbury as well. He got cut right as we were preparing for this show. I think both those guys are serviceable starters, kind of like Coleman Shelton, who he signed a backup deal with the Rams, so you never know. If they don't find starting roles, they're good backups, right? Like they if something happened to Drew Dahlman, you'd feel good about Garrett Bradbury or Andre James having to play, especially on a short-term situation if Dahlman was out for a month or something like that. So if the price was cheap enough, those are two names to monitor. Okay, wide receivers. Obviously, we're filming this on Monday night. As of now, Mecole Hardman and Rondale Moore have not signed. Not going to talk about them here, but some other names to monitor. Josh Reynolds. I put Detroit there because of the Ben Johnson connection. He actually finished last year playing both with Jacksonville and Denver, but Detroit's where his most recent success came from. Tyler Lockett with Seattle. I'm curious to see what he gets at this point. I mean, he probably sees Cooper Kupp get $15 million. It's like, Jesus, like I could probably get 10. The Bears are not in that business, but if it got cheap enough. Devin Duvernay is an interesting name. You know, the guys the Bears brought in on Monday, similar in terms of gadget, speed, returnability. Duvernay kind of checks those boxes, so that would be intriguing. DJ Chark, who again, was he with Detroit? I actually don't think he was with Detroit last year. I had Detroit in my brain for Denver and Chark because they've both played in Ben Johnson's offenses. So who cares what they did last year? They weren't very good last year. The last time they did notable stuff was in Detroit. Chark would be that bigger body guy if you want like a backup for Rome Odunze. So there you go. He was a Charger last year. Did not do much. He's been hurt a lot. Elijah Moore. I'm still interested. Over 2,000 yards in 4 seasons with Cleveland. Productive player. You know, I think he'd be like a come compete with Zacchaeus type of guy, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, linebackers. Isaiah Simmons, he can kind of play all over. He's not great at anything, but he's okay at everything. He can play some safety, some linebacker. You can put him near the line of scrimmage. Could he be that third linebacker where he's versatile and can play different positions? Spent the last 2 years with the Giants. Maybe he's your Jack Sanborn replacement. Willie Gay Jr., who played 4 years with the Chiefs, so you have the Ryan Poles connection. Last year played in New Orleans under Dennis Allen, so you have that connection. I think he can start. Obviously here he'd be like a hybrid starter. He'd be your third linebacker, but you'd feel pretty good about it. If one of TJ Edwards or Tremaine Edmonds went down, Gay could plug in. I think he's athletic enough to be that Sam linebacker as well, so maybe he could be your third LB. EJ Speed with the Colts, I think he's probably a little too expensive for what the Bears are looking for. He's a starting caliber player, 100 tackles last year. But you never know. You get after that first week of free agency, money dries up. Maybe a guy like that has to take less. Chaz Surratt with the Jets, I think he could fill that box of being that third linebacker, can do some different things. And then Eric Kendricks, older player. You know, to be a third linebacker, you'd like him to play special teams. Kendricks probably would not at this stage in his career. Played pretty well for Dallas last year, so I'm not sure it's the perfect fit, but I like the player. And if he wanted to take a lesser role here, I certainly wouldn't say no. Subscribe to Bears Now. We're a family here, and that's thanks to all of you. And if you're someone who hasn't subscribed yet, just give us a shot. How about this? Subscribe, set an alarm a week from now, and you can mark it subscribe or unsubscribe. If you didn't enjoy the content during the week, you can unsubscribe. If you enjoyed it, you can stay a subscriber. We would appreciate it. You guys are the best. Okay, running backs. And let me just prelude this with, I don't really want to sign a running back. Maybe after the draft, but I'm all speed ahead on the draft, whether it's Genty, Judkins, Marion Hampton, Caleb Johnson. That's someone I want to pair with DeAndre Swift. But these are some guys still out there. I've been asked a lot about Nick Chubb. To me, he'd be a post-draft guy I would look at, bring him in, do a medical evaluation. Obviously, before the injury a couple of years ago, arguably the best, if not at least one of the best running backs in the league. Didn't look the same last year, but a lot of the time, it's the year after the year you return from a major injury, so maybe this year he bounces back. Gus Edwards, if you want a big physical back that can carry the load at times, think kind of Deontay Foreman a couple years ago when – you know, he's not going to play on special teams. He's not really a pass catcher. But if your starter goes down and you need to hand the ball off to someone 20 times per game, he can handle that. I just don't know what his fit is here if you draft a running back. So, you know, would you cut Roschon Johnson? I'm not sure. But a notable name out there, especially in short yardage. Cam Akers, I've always liked him. I think in a rotation, he's pretty good. Now, again, like, I want to draft somebody, like he's probably better than a number 3. So this would almost be like you go through the draft and don't get it back for whatever reason. Maybe you bring him in. But, yeah, that's kind of my thought on him. J.K. Dobbins, thought he had a solid season last year, was able to stay healthy for the most part with the Chargers. Again, this would be a post-draft signing if you don't get someone in the draft, at least for me. Jamal Williams, to me, him and Roschon are very similar. Short yardage, thumper, don't give you much wiggle. I'd probably rather just keep Roschon because I think he can give you more juice on special teams and as a pass catcher, but that's another name out there. And he's been with the Saints, so you got a couple of coaches on the staff that would know him pretty well. Okay, free agent quarterbacks, and let me be clear. I am talking about guys who are experienced and no threat to, like, start if Caleb struggles, right? Just if they want to add a mentor, which I don't know if they do or not, but that's what these guys are. Joe Flacco. He's, 40 now? Like, it was a fun story 2 years ago. I think we saw last year. His playing days are done, but he's seen a lot. He's won a Super Bowl. He's played with different organizations. I think he could bring a lot to a locker room and to Caleb. If he wants to take on a mentor role and still be in an NFL locker room, I think Flacco's an interesting name. Case Keenum, maybe my favorite one on here because he really has no threat to play, but I think there's a lot of value here. Undrafted free agent. His best year in the league was with the Vikings, so he knows this division. He's bounced around. He's 37, 38 years old. I don't even think he's better than Tyson Bagent, so he could just be your clear third guy that you keep around, and he's just a sounding board. Like, I think this guy could be a future coach in this league. He would be someone I'd be very interested in. Josh Johnson, same deal. He's like 38 now. You don't want him to play, but he's played for half the league? Like, clearly he keeps getting jobs. He fits in, right? And that's the type of guy I'd want to bring in if you're going to add a third quarterback, a veteran, someone who would fit in and not cause problems. That is Josh Johnson to a T. That's Teddy Bridgewater. Now, is he going to go back to coaching high school football? He signed for the playoffs for Detroit. I don't know what he wants. I think clearly his playing days are pretty much done. But come in, compete with Bagent for the backup role, probably your third guy, knows Ben Johnson in the system. I'd be cool with it if he wants to do it. C.J. Beathard, he stuck around 8 years in the league. Played at Iowa, Big Ten kid, so knows the area, and could be a guy that's probably just your third quarterback. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Third quarterback, because I think Bagent, from a playing standpoint, is your clear backup, but do you want that vet who's seen a lot? Remember last year we were talking about Ryan Tannehill a lot, then he ended up not signing with the team. I think it was pretty clear he either wanted to start somewhere or not play at all. If any of these guys are cool with being a clear backup or even third string guy, but want to be a part of a team, hey, sign me up. I think for a vet minimum for any of those guys, they could all bring value to a locker room. Should the Bears sign a vet QB for Caleb, a guy to help Caleb Williams be another voice in his ear? Type S for sign, P for pass. I don't think it's necessary. I think a guy like JT Barrett on staff can basically handle that role. But if you want somebody, I would not be opposed. S for sign, P for pass. Okay, tight ends. I think Tyler Conklin's too expensive, probably, but he's still available. Maybe that price tag comes down. I think as a number 2, he'd be good. Durham Smythe is your 3. There you go. Mo Alley-Cox didn't do much last year, but he's had some productive years in the league. He has improved as a blocker, which is a positive thing. I think any person who's going to be a backup tight end, if he's not an elite receiving tight end, you better be able to block in this offense. Jordan Akins, same deal. He's improved as a blocker over the years, and I've always loved Jordan Akins because he was a big reason why the Bears got the number 1 pick in the draft a couple of years ago. The real ones now. Hayden Hurst with the Chargers, certainly past his heyday, but has some ability as a receiving tight end, can block some as well. He's a notable name. Ross Dwelley, blocker only. He'd be that clear light tight end 3, just come in and block. So he's someone you could add as well. Tight end group is dried up. I think they're going to go draft, but those are some names that are still out there. Okay, appreciate everybody for tuning into Chicago Bears Now. 50 free agents that are still out there that the Bears could look at signing 1, 2, maybe 3 of them between now and the draft. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down.